नमस्कार आपण मानक समस्त को यही वीडियो रे बहुत बहुत स्वागत। आज वीडियो रे आपण मानक सहित +3 फर्स्ट ईयर सेकेंड सेमेस्टर पॉलिटिकल साइंस ऑनर्स रो कोड पेपर 4 रो यूनिट 4 द चेंजिंग नेचर ऑफ द इंडिया स्टेट रो किछि 1 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन आपन सह शेयर करबी। आ पूर्व मध्य मु यूनिट 1 2 3 रो ऑलरेडी वीडियो बनै साची। जदि आपण देखि नांती ताल जेनु जे देखि परिबे। आ वीडियो रे आगो को कहबी जे आपण माने रे पीडीएफ टेको किपर हेबे पाई परिबे। There is a growing tendency on the part of modern states to claim themselves to be a welfare states. And answer about the progress of industrial revolution in the 20th century was accompanied by a replacement of the days by a welfare state na police state. Police state भावे से welfare state को से कौन गला ना replacement करा गला। From 1950s to 1970s in India followed the strategy of economic development that aimed at the days along with self-reliance in industrial development. Days is used to calculate the economic performance of the country GDP. GDP को यूज करा होची कोन करा ना इकोनॉमिक परफॉर्मेंस गोटे देशर इकोनॉमिक कोन अछि से डाउन रो अछि ना अप रो अछि ना डाउन रो अछि ताको किन जानछथि बा कैलकुलेट करछथि जीडीपी द्वारा ताको कैलकुलेट करा जाउछि। International Monetary Fund by IMF is an international organization and it has its headquarters at Des in USA na Washington DC रे आरो USA रे अछि हेडक्वार्टर टा। IMF by International Monetary Fund was instituted in 1940 as a part of the proceeding of the Des conference na Bretton Woods conference रे होतिले। The Des state symbolize a system in which the state government takes the responsibility for delivering the social and economic security to the citizen of the state. कौन हो वेलफेयर स्टेट गोटे वेलफेयर स्टेट सिंबलाइज करछि कोन करछि ना एक सिस्टम इन व्हिच द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट जो राज्य सरकार टेक्स द रेस्पोंसिबिलिटी फॉर डिलीवरिंग ए सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी टू द सिटीजन ऑफ द स्टेट। कोन करछि ना स्टेट सरकार बा राष्ट्र बा राज्य सरकार तांको दायित्व रहउछि कोन दायित्व रहउछि ना लोक मानन कोन करबे जो से राज्य लोक माने राष्ट्र लोक मानन को इकोनॉमिक अर्थनैतिक और सामाजिक सुरक्षा प्रदान करबे। यह कौन ना जनमंगल राष्ट्र गोटे चिन्ह बा प्रतीक जनमंगलकारी राष्ट्र गोटे प्रतीक। यह द नोशन ऑफ डेस रिप्लेसेस द नोशन ऑफ गवर्नेंस द नोशन ऑफ गवर्नमेंट मेंटालिटी रिप्लेस द नोशन ऑफ गुड गवर्नेंस। गवर्न मेंटालिटी इम्प्लेस द स्टाइल और आर्ट ऑफ गवर्निंग बाय ट्रीटिंग द पीपल नॉट एज बट एज ग्रुप पॉपुलेशन ना सिटीजन्स बट नॉट एज ग्रुप पॉपुलेशन। नेक्स्ट देखिबा in India the Des movement can be traced back to the 1970s and the civil rights movement can be traced back to the 19s. Des is the process of international integration arising from the interchange of world views, products, ideas and other aspects of culture and globalization. Adam Smith introduced the concept of globalization through the book of title Des na Wealth of Nations. The compulsion for a new changes were realized in 1980s when liberation of Des began in limited way in the public sector. According to Des, India is a nation of rich and poor which constitute of both strong and weak elements. Rodolph and Rudolph India कौन कहते हैं India is a nation of rich and poor which constitute for both strong and weak elements. Des usually use direct action tactics to persuade the state and government to bring about changes in policy and state structure. Social movement, the social movements usually use direction करछि ना कोन ना taxes to persuade the state government to bring about change in policy and state structure. The inclination towards a better economy with high growth path and prosperity led us towards Des economy from the state control na deregulation of economy for the state control. According to Des, institutional economic perspective is important. Liberalist, according to liberalist मान उत्तरवादी मान हिसाब रे institutional economic perspective is important. Next देखिए for Des class domination plays an important role ना Marxist मान पे कौन करछि ना Marxist अछथि Marxist class domination plays an important role. The end of Cold War समाप्ति रे which lead to collapse of Soviet Union brought an end to socialism. Next देखिबा India in its Des process adopt the structure of welfare through its democratic constitutional framework na planning process to adopt the structure of welfare through its democratic constitutional framework. The fundamental rights part 3 and directive principles of state policy part 4 elaborated the values important in the days na preamble values को रखा जाइछि इम्पोर्ट कर जाइछि. The days encourage the state in India at creating economy wherein the ownership and control of natural resources, material resources, the community are so distributed to serve the common good and directives. The directives encourage प्रोत्साहन करछन्ती जे state in India creating economy wherein the ownership and control of material resource of community are so distributed माने बंटन कर to serve the common goods. Next देखिबा as a welfare state, it involved the conscience of a wide spectrum of desk policies, answer of socio-economic policies. The DPSP inscribed the Republic of India as a desk state na welfare state. DPSP कौन करछि ना Republic of India को welfare state को कौन करछि inscribe करछि. The economic liberalization brought in radical transformation. The economy and shift from state to desk economy, the market economy. The decade of 1990s was the period of structural economic reforms where the orientation of state policies was from desk to liberalization, nationalization. The reforms of 1991 need to look the ritual of growing desk entity during Indira Gandhi tenure माने कौन स्टेट कैपिटल अलायंस इंटेल ड्यूरिंग इंदिरा गांधी टेन्योर माने इंदिरा गांधी कार्य समय रे कौन थिला द रिफॉर्म्स 1991 जो रिफॉर्म हेतिला टू नीड लॉक द रिजल्ट ऑफ गोइंग स्टेट कैपिटल अलायंस इंटिटेड ड्यूरिंग इंदिरा गांधी टेन्योर. From the perspective of democratic politics, the most distributing response of the state to demands of a human rights movement has been repression. The genesis of these reforms is traced back to the development emphasis of the late 1962s and 1970s in India neoliberal. The genesis of neoliberal reforms is traced back to the development emphasis to the late 19s at the 1970s in India. Who defines welfare state as a compromise between the two extremes of communism on the one hand and unbridled individualism on other. कौन DL Hofmann कौन करछन्ती now defines करछन welfare state जन्म राष्ट्र को a compromise between the two extreme of communism on the one hand and unbridled individualism on the other. Who says the welfare state is a society in which an absolute minimum standard of living and opportunity becomes the proportion of every citizen. G.D.H. Chloe, who opines that the welfare state is simply a state in which people are free to develop their individual capacities, to receive just hours for their talents and engage to the pursuit of happiness, unburdened by the fear, actual hunger, actual homeless, or oppression by region or race, creed or color. Now Herbert Hedgeman opens opinion ताकर देछन्ती. The welfare state can be traced by 1940 in which country na England रे कोन हितला 1940 समय welfare state England प्रथम स्टेट देखा जायतिला. The governmentally completization come from whom na Foucault. The government compilation comes from whom na Foucault से आसी अछि. Who introduced the concept of globalization in the year 1776? Adam Smith. Adam Smith 1776 मसारे जो ग्लोबलाइजेशन जगत कहिछि हमरो ताको इंट्रोड्यूस करथिले. Who rightly described the Indian Constitution as a political document of social revolution? ना Gabriel Austin describe करथिले कोन ना the Indian Constitution as a political document of social revolution. The government, administration, army, policy and judiciary constitute the state. Who opened this ना मिलबान है को कहथिले मिलीबान कहथिले. Which rights aim to the creating democratic egalitarian state na fundamental. Which article of the part 4 the constitution aims towards a welfare state na 37 article ला कोन कोछि ना संविधान रो 36तम धारा आ भाग 4 कोन कोछि ना constitution aim कोछि towards the जन्म राष्ट्र गोटे से कोन constitution aim towards a welfare state को से करछि. Which article of the constitution restrains that the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting effectively as it may social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform shall inform all the institution 38. The egalitarianism is future restraint in which article with emphasis on adequate means of livelihood, equally for men and women, equally pay for equal work 39. ଏସବୁ article ଯାକ in which your government article କୋଉ ମେସେଜ ତାହା କୁହାଯାଉଛି in which year the government of India decide to go in for liberation of economy 1951 ମସିହାରେ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ କ'ଣ ଡିସାଇଡ୍ କଲେ ଯେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆକୁ ଏଥର କ'ଣ ଲିବରେସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଇକୋନୋମି କରାଯିବ which committee in August 1937 recommended that there is a need for rational construction in social planning na Warda committee August 1937 recommend करले कोन that there is a need गोटे need आवश्यक कोन पे rational construction in social planning पे गोटे need आवश्यक रही था ना वार्दा कमिटी अगस्त 27 रे याकू रिकमेंड करथिले तो ही भाव मुझे यूनिट 4 मध्य 1 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन डिस्कशन कर सारी जदि आप पीडीएफ चाहते हैं डिस्क्रिप्शन में टेलीग्राम लिंक अच्छी से जॉइन हाँ आप खूब शीघ्र मुझे सहित कौन यहाँ पीडीएफ को शेयर करदेवी तो थैंक यू टू ऑल फॉर वाचिंग दिस वीडियो।